Hello, my name is Diane, and I'm an admissions representative with Kansas State University Online. I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us tonight to learn more about our academic advising programs. I'm joined by the Associate Professor, Dr. Lisa Rubin, and Assistant Professor, Dr. Craig McGill. Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill are going to spend the beginning of the webinar giving us a presentation about this program, and then we'll spend the remaining time answering questions. Throughout the duration of this presentation, we will be monitoring the chat feature and answering questions as they're being asked. Some of your questions may be saved until the end for Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill to answer. If you could now please take a few seconds to locate the chat feature and answer the question you see on your screen, as we would love to learn a little bit more about you. I will give you a minute to do so now. As those chats are coming in, I also wanted to let you know that we will be sharing a recording of this presentation following the webinar. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill.
Hello, everyone. Happy to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about our certificate, master's, and PhD programs in academic advising in the College of Education at Kansas State University. So these are the three programs. The graduate certificate started in 2003, followed by a Master's of Science in Academic Advising in 2008. And we just had our first cohort begin the PhD last year in academic advising in 2020. So the graduate certificate in academic advising consists of 15 credits, which is 5 courses. So you take a course in learning principles, a course in the foundations of academic advising, student development theory, multicultural aspects of academic advising, and trends in career development. The Masters of Academic Advising consists of those 5 classes plus 5 more. So those consist of research methods, interpersonal relations in academic advising, college student athletes, and college students with special needs. Those are the 9 required courses, and then you take 1 restricted elective from this list, either history and philosophy of higher education, assessment of academic advising, or current issues in intercollegiate athletics. And there's a capstone at the end of that, a capstone project. I was going to mention that too. So the requirements are a bachelor's degree with a minimum of a 3.0 GPA in the final 2 years, or approximately the last 60 credits of your undergraduate career. Applications are accepted year-round. Applicants should plan to apply within the first 2 to 3 months of the start of the semester. The fall semester begins in late August. The spring semester begins in late January, and the summer semester begins in late May. And so your application should include the following: a professional resume or CV, and a 1 to 2 page statement of your goals and professional experience. That should include the following information: the career and professional goals and aspirations that you have, and how being accepted into the program will benefit those goals and aspirations. The reason you're interested in seeking the master's in academic advising, evidence of motivation, leadership, and strong work ethic, as well as professional experiences that will support your application. And if you are an international student, so outside the US, you have to sign or include a statement that says that you understand that you'll be taking all the coursework through distance education and will not come to the US for any formal part of the coursework. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Rubin to talk about the PhD.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you again for taking time out of your evening, or if you're in another part of the world, the next day possibly, to join us. So we're really glad you're here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the PhD, which, as Dr. McGill mentioned, was launched in 2020. So this program is preparing different leaders for professional roles in leadership, research, and teaching that focuses specifically on academic advising within higher education. Our program requires a minimum of 90 hours post-baccalaureate. And I'll talk a little bit about the sub-plan. So we have a a doctoral program that if you get this PhD, it actually will be in counseling and student development. And there's 3 different tracks in our department. So leadership and academic advising is considered a strand of this counseling and student development program. And I know we'll probably get some questions immediately about the 90 hours post-baccalaureate. If you have a master's degree in a related field of education, student affairs, or something similar, we count 30 credits of the master's degree towards the 90. So most students pursuing any of our PhD programs actually just need to earn 60 credits post-master's upon applying. So that's something that I know will be of interest to you. Some key aspects of the doctoral program. This is a cohort model. So we have people apply every 2 years. So right now, our first cohort began in summer 2020, and our next cohort will begin in summer 2022. So when we look at students who are interested in this program, we're trying to also find a way to have everyone mesh together in a cohort that supports each other. And that's something that makes it really special because helps everybody push each other along, hold each other accountable, learn together, and it's a really unique feel. The courses are all offered through K-State Online, and that means you have access to all the technology. So a lot of faculty are using Zoom, for example, for synchronous meetings. We also have Microsoft Teams at K-State, and Canvas is our learning management system. So all the courses are also on Canvas. So occasionally some faculty will have synchronous Zoom sessions for class. And then as a cohort, we will also have a regular Zoom session on a monthly basis. So the only requirement for traveling to Manhattan, Kansas, where we are located, or Manhappiness, if you may want to call it that, is 1 week in the summer. And that week is, we're not really calling it a residency week, but for the first 3 summers of the program, we ask that our cohort come to campus and spend time together and take some of the class time in person with their faculty. And a lot of that time will take place in the research center at NACADA's headquarters. And if you're not familiar with NACADA, it is the Global Community for Academic Advising and is the global association for academic advising. And the headquarters, their executive office, is part of College of Education at Kansas State. So we have a very valuable partnership with NACADA, which enhances our program immensely. So this cohort model does require everyone to take classes together, meaning they're taking 6 credits or 2 courses together every semester for the first 7 consecutive semesters of enrollment. And that includes summer. So that is a big commitment, especially if you're working full time. So we want to make sure people are aware of that commitment. And then we have, after the coursework completion, a preliminary exam. You may have heard of, also called like qualifying exam at other institutions. And this is sort of to bring all of the knowledge together that you have and showcase what you've learned in the academic advising context. So some of the other benefits to our doctoral program involves regular professional development activities that enhance learning outside of the classroom and also help with networking throughout the field. So some of those things might take place in our monthly meetings outside of the class time, or when we're at our summer week here in Manhattan. And sometimes if you're able to attend the NACADA annual conference, we also do some things together with current and former students as well. There's a lot of collaborative opportunities with your faculty because a good number of our faculty members are incredibly involved in the scholarship of academic advising and leadership roles in NACADA. And some of the NACADA executive office staff also participate as faculty in our department. So there's a lot of amazing people that you can learn from and work with. And that's something that we think is really unique about our program. As I mentioned earlier, we have regular interactions with our cohort. So right now we have the first Tuesday of every month, we meet in the evening. So sometimes that gets canceled because of other things or because we're going to see each other at an event. But that's something that the cohort decides together, what day and time that will work. And we try to keep that consistent the entire 3 years of the coursework so the students have consistency and no surprises on scheduling and things like that. And then again, as I mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities for scholarly development, for writing, for getting involved in projects, because Dr. Troxel, who's the director of the Research Center, is one of our faculty members and is very excited to get students writing and publishing about advising. So how to get started? We have a lot of information on the K-State Online website about the doctoral program in terms of what's required for applications. We will be able to answer those questions tonight too, but it's a lot to cover compared to the master slide. So one of the things that we have that's a little different is a requirement of an original scholarly essay. So that means you may see other programs ask for a writing sample, and in this program, we want you to create something original for the application. It's not crazy long or anything, but 5 to 8 pages, something that you're excited about or interested in academic advising that you want to study, and kind of start delving into the literature a little bit and let us know what you're thinking about. That helps us see, can we help you develop your ideas? Would you be a good fit to work with a specific faculty member, that kind of thing, and also showcase your writing skills. So our application for this upcoming cohort for summer 2022 is actually due December 1st. So if you haven't started thinking about it already, it's pretty close to the deadline. So I don't know if you want to destroy your Thanksgiving plans and work on the application, but it's still open if you're interested. And again, that starts in summer 2022. And so now I just have a quick video to share. I think my sound is on here, hopefully. And this is a student that we graduated a couple years ago from our master's program, who's just phenomenal, and just sharing a little bit about her experience with you.
For students that are wondering, what's their next step? For me, it took a lot of years to determine that. And I finally figured out, I'm researching careers and I'm doing this and looking into development for students. And this was the answer to what it was. Every time I wanted to know something, I sent an email. And really, that was really one of the driving forces as to why I decided to attend, because it was just such, it was really personal and they really cared. I'm the type of person that likes to be in the class with the professor up front, and I actually really feel like I had that experience with the global campus. I know several of my professors, and I feel the real connection with them. So the global experience for me has been really almost better than in the classroom, because there was so much contact. I feel that it's really been, I've been part of the family. I want to get as much academic advising experience as possible. I really enjoy student development, and that was a big part of our program. So lots of our classes really focus on theory and development. And for me, that was important because it lets you get to the heart of the student. One of the things that I was able to do that I really like is attend the NACADA conference. So I met several of my professors there. Really made connections there. On campus, because I was in the program, I was also able to create and work with one of our provosts to actually do an assistantship in academic advising. Halfway through the program, my father passed away, and I needed some time, and he gave me the time that I needed. For some, they might have stopped and taken a break, and because of their care, because he really just allowed me what I needed. And so I didn't stop, I kept going and I finished. And so for me, that said a lot. It said a lot about who they are as just a family, as Kansas State, and how much they care about their students. There can be challenging times. And so just the fact that they made sure that I had everything I needed all the time. I think because of that and their partnership, even with NACADA, really makes it something that students love. And so this distance education at a just a world-renowned university, for me, highly respected. You can't get much better at all. For students that are wondering, what's their next step? For me, it took
All right, I think it's time for some questions and answers. And I know Diane's been monitoring the chat, since I'm not great at multitasking on Zoom with a PowerPoint. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see us and we can possibly see the chat better.
Encourage all who's willing and able to turn on your camera so we can see your faces.
Okay, now I can get to the chat. Thanks, everybody. Seeing where everyone's from. We've got all over the place represented. That's awesome. Yay, we had someone in Japan last week on our webinar. It's cool to see someone else from Japan here. Look at all these states. Awesome. And interested in certificate and master seems to be the popular choices right now. And a doctorate interest, awesome. Okay, so I found my first question. Thank you. As I scroll through all your wonderful chats. How long does the program generally last with different course loads? So I guess, Tyler, which program are you referring to? Because I know we talked about 3, so I just want to make sure I get that one. Masters, okay. So the master's is 30 credits, and that's actually pretty short for a master's program. A lot of other programs, you see 36 to 39 credits. So it's 10 classes, and then as Dr. McGill mentioned briefly, there's a culminating project that you do in your final semester while you're enrolled in a class, at least one class. So it really varies. Some people take one class at a time, and some people take 2, 3, 4. I've even seen someone do 5 and graduate in 9 months. Very unrealistic for most people who have jobs, but that student wasn't working. So I'd say the majority of students take between 1 and 3 classes a semester, depending on family life, job, and other things going on. So you can finish it. Most students finish it in 1.5 years, I'd say, to 2 years. And you can do it in 1 calendar year, depending on if you want to take 1 semester with 4 classes. So there's a lot of different flexible arrangements. We don't have a course sequence in the master. So what's really nice about that is that gives you the opportunity to take classes, without worrying about prerequisites or I have to do it in this order. We have 1 prerequisite, and that is if you choose the assessment elective, you take research methods before that. Otherwise, you can take the classes in any order you wish, and that gives you a lot of flexibility. I'll also add, just because of COVID as the backdrop of our conversation, a lot of people in our program needed to take a semester off in the past 1.5 years due to many reasons, mental health. Some worked in K-12 ed, some had children at home in school, and that's totally fine. Like, we totally support people taking breaks when needed. Your record stays active when you apply for 2 years. So if you enroll in a class and take a year off, you can go back and enroll without having to reapply. And you have a 2-year window to do that. And your advisor might remind you that every time they send out reminders for registration. So that's something that, you can take 1 class and then the next semester take 2 and then take a break, and those are all things that people can do. So I think that's really important to make sure you know. So the next question. Oh, go ahead.
That's all right. The next question I see is, what does the process look like to start with the advising certificate and then transition to the master's and vice versa? And then we also had a question related to the certificate, if it needed to be taken all in 1 semester or multiple semesters. I would say it would be very rare for somebody to do all 5 classes for the certificate in 1 semester. So, somebody could do it again in 1 academic year, or they could do it 1 course at a time while they're doing something else. I am actually somebody who's living proof of having started the graduate certificate and falling so in love with it that I decided to do the master's. I started in 2006 and completed in 2010. So I was one of the first graduating classes of the master's program. But I would say, Dr. Rubin, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not uncommon for people to start with the certificate and then decide, hey, it's only 5 more classes to go ahead and do the master's, and I'm having a great time doing it, so why not? So there's all the courses count. So it's not like, there's a restriction on how many will count. 50% of it will be done with the certificate program. There was a related question about why somebody might do the certificate instead of the master's. And the way I would respond to that is that people might decide to do a master's or a PhD in a different area, but want to supplement that graduate education with academic advising. So actually, that was my original plan. I did a master's degree in music theory and was thinking I would dabble a little bit with a certificate in academic advising. And well, the rest is history for me. But I'm sure yeah, I think we have students who do it for all kinds of reasons. Perhaps they, have a master's degree. They've been practicing advising for 15 years and just want to take some of the courses to enrich their knowledge of the field and their practice of advising. So Dr. Rubin, I don't know if you want to say anything more about, I think I did about 3 questions there.
Yeah, that was well said. And I think it's cool that you are like living proof of these things. And I think I addressed Holly's question about the course sequence, but if I didn't, please let me know. The next question I see is about undergraduate courses that we recommend. That's an interesting question. Actually, I don't think there's a lot of programs that have undergraduate higher ed or student affairs classes. Now there's a little bit just because I'm on a listserv of faculty who are trying to start an undergraduate major in student affairs, but I think a lot of us fall into it and don't realize it's a career until maybe we're like finishing our undergraduate degree at the earliest, or maybe later in life we discover it. So I wish I could say that, but one thing I can say you can do if you're not sure is you can take a class as a non-degree seeking student, as you're allowed to take, I think, and Diane, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can take 9 credits before you must apply for the master's and let them count as a non-degree seeking student.
Correct.
Okay, good. I mix up the PhD and the master sometimes in my head because there's some nuances, but or if you try a class, say you want to get research methods where you maybe work at another college and you have a research methods and education course that you get free tuition for, gosh, like I'm not going to say, oh, you must take it at K-State. If it's something that you can take for free or a discounted rate at where you work or in your community at a nearby college, you could do that. Just make sure when you talk to Dr. Kraft as you're applying and say, here's the syllabus. Can you just run this by Dr. Young or Dr. McGill and make sure this class will transfer? Because we take up to 6 transfer credits for the master. So the advising courses are harder to find, but if there's a higher ed program nearby, you might find the student development theory class, for example, offered at an institution near you or where you work. So that's something you can test out where you are and then say, oh, I think I'm interested in this, but I really want to do the advising degree at K-State. And then you can look to do that with us. But we're happy to review potential transfer courses as well.
We also had a question about undergraduate preparation. So one way to answer this is that we have people from all walks of life in academic advising. So anything you do in your undergrad is great preparation. A more pointed response might be if you have an opportunity to take a research methods course or some courses in the social sciences, that would also be good preparation.
Great questions. And so Casey, I see your question. If you have a master's in management and you want to pursue the doctoral program, what does that look like? So you should still qualify for the 30 credits up towards the degree with a master's. So what we do is we just take a kind of a chunk. That's 30 credits of master's level work. We don't say, oh, this transfers this way, this transfers that way. So that's the good news. Everybody though who doesn't have a background in higher ed or advising, we only have 2 prerequisite courses that we require, and they can be taken, they're not really prereqs, we call them co-requisite. You can take them along the way. So one of them is research methods. Again, you can take that locally if that's something that you can get discounted or free and transfer in, or you can take it at some point, but knowing that you have 6 credits with us every semester in the cohort model, it may be best to try to squeeze that in the semester before you start. So like if you're applying now, you maybe take it in the spring so you don't have 9 credits one semester, especially if you're working. The other course is multicultural aspects of academic advising, or you can take a course that's diversity in higher education. Some kind of diversity or multicultural course related to higher ed would count. And those 2 are basically what we ask anyone who doesn't have that background. So it's doable. I'll be honest, like we guinea pigged our first cohort, I guess is the best way to put it. So that first cohort had 6 courses, I think, that they had to do co-requisite or prerequisite, and a lot of them are still doing that, 2 years in, and it's a drag, and we realized that's not reasonable. So we had to test it on somebody. So now we know that those 2, research methods and multicultural, really make a difference.
And I was just going to kind of co-sign and opine even more strongly that if at all possible, take those 2 courses before you start the PhD program. It's a grind anyway to try and do 2 a semester, especially if you're working full time or raising kids or whatever. So it's just best if you're able to take those 2 before.
So Daniel, I see you asked about career data and the certificate. I know that our career services office asks us for information about everyone as they graduate every semester and kind of compile that if they don't hear from students, because they do send a survey. And a lot of people just don't want to share salary info and that kind of thing. But our career center has that information, and maybe Dr. Kraft, our department head. I actually have not seen it, but I love the question. So I'm going to file this, and we're going to follow up with her, and hopefully we can get that information to you. I think Diane has your email address from registering, so we will follow up on that for sure.
We've got a question about whether the program is primarily geared towards working academic advisors or people who are interested in going into the field. And the response is that we've got some of both. We do have several, students who have been working in the field and who just really enjoy the experience of learning sort of like the language of what they've been doing in their practice and to think about the work more deeply, but also a number of students who are just very interested in becoming academic advisors who are, who are not currently advisors. I mean, anywhere from somebody who's 22 out of their undergraduate degree to, a teacher who's looking for a career change 25 years after being in the classroom. So we have all different kinds of students, which makes it a lot of fun.
It really does, because you get a lot of different perspectives on everything. Next question from Amara regarding textbooks. You should be able to order ebook versions if that's something that's made for the book. We don't require you to buy hard copies of anything. And I'm pretty sure Nakata has ebook versions of all of their books that are our text, but I'm not sure if Dr. McGill, you know anything else.
I know the newer books. I'm not sure about all of the older books.
Something that everyone should know on here is Dr. McGill is editing a good number of books that are published by Nakata, and a lot of them are new editions of previous books. So he is trying to make this happen for you, Amara, as fast as possible. So he had a book just come out a month ago and has 2 next year and 3, 4, or 5 after that. I don't know. He is definitely your book guy if anyone's looking for writing opportunities internationally. Amara, Tyler, I think we're looking for some voices internationally for an upcoming international advising book. So definitely reach out to him.
Please, thank you.
Tyler asked about synchronous Zoom for masters. I do not believe any master's courses requires synchronous Zoom that I've heard of. That's really the doc program for just a number of reasons with the cohort design. But since everyone's kind of doing their own thing around the world in the master's program, it's pretty much asynchronous 100% that I've never heard of anyone, I think, meeting, unless you need to meet with an advisor and, or a faculty member in an appointment that you set. So hopefully that alleviates any stress about living across the world. Grad certificate that Brian asked is 15 credits. So 5 classes that are 3 credit hours each. And you can take that 1 semester or 5 semesters or with breaks in between. So it's really up to you how long you do that. Hopefully that helps.
So we also sort of addressed Holly's question along the way. I guess, Holly, it depends if you're talking about the master's, which most courses are asynchronous and can be done on your own, or if you're talking about the PhD. With this cohort, they've been evening. I suppose that's something that could be under discussion, but with most people working full time, they're likely to remain in the evening, Central Time. Depends on where you're at, I guess, whether it's evening or not.
The next question, can you receive the certificate while you're doing the master's? The answer is yes. It's not common just because I don't think people, unless they need the master's as a credential, but you can definitely request that the master's be added to your or the certificate be added to your records so you earn it halfway through. And then you can just take those 5 classes first. That's definitely been done. So good question. This might be a Diane question on transcripts. Is an official digital transcript PDF required for the master's application?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you apply to the program, we just require you to provide us with your unofficial transcript from every institution that you've attended, and you can save that as a PDF file and attach it to your online application. And once you're admitted into the program, that is when you'll have to send over the official transcript directly from the institution to K-State.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Mandy, the question is, do master's graduates only go into academic advising, or do they go into other student support services programs like TRIO? And the good news is, and I feel this way about pretty much any kind of related areas, that you can use this degree and has some transferability into other areas in student affairs and higher education as well. And I do we've had alumni go into those areas. And I'm right now in my class, I read a paper about a student who interviewed someone with a TRIO program, and she's excited about possibly pursuing that. So I definitely see that as an option if that's of interest. And, you know, on the side, it might help in those cases to look into some professional development on grant writing skills and some of those things that can help sustain those positions because they're so important. And we do have students in the doc program that used to be in those positions or have written Title V grants for community colleges to have those positions as well. So that's really cool.
Cassie, I may need some clarity on, or Casey, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm trying to find you here. When you say, would it qualify as background? I mean, the answer would be yes, of course. I didn't know if you were asking about the prerequisite courses or what you meant by qualifying as background. Are you able to clarify?
She responded that she got it.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so I see Andrew asked a couple of questions that kind of go together. I want to make sure I get back to that. So the co-requisites that are for the program, if they weren't something that were part of the master's that you had before you applied for the doctoral program, they don't count towards the 30 credits. They just are in addition to what is required after that. So it would end up being 66 credits instead of 60. So that's why if you do have a way to take classes in your area, like with in-state tuition, or if you work at an institution and can get a discount, like we're going to definitely encourage that. I don't get your money if you take a class, you know, I just work here, but we just want you to have what you need in the most affordable way. So hopefully that alleviates concern. Like we're not trying to make you do it here.
But if, Andrew, if you took those 2 courses that we require within your master's, you wouldn't have to take them again. So they could be included in those 30 credits if you did happen to take, you know, if you did a master's in higher education, you probably had a course in research methods, for example.
Irene asked, do we get a discount on tuition fees if we are NACADA members? I wish I could tell you yes, but no. But the other way around, if you are a student and you're not employed, you can get $20 NACADA membership per year, which is really, really, really low considering every other organization costs a fortune. So I can tell you that, but you do get a lot of benefits for being a NACADA member and being in the cohort, because NACADA puts out, you know, the press release of here's our doctoral students, and they give you as students of our program opportunities that other people don't get, for example. So hopefully you get a discount as a member on the books, which is helpful, yes. Hopefully. So, oh, and here's a really good question. Are the courses specific to advising within the American education system? I'd say Most of them are, but we do have so many international students. And I think that a lot of us have made a pretty big effort to ensure that we have some learning. And I think it'll help when Dr. McGill's book comes out in a couple of years on international advising. But we encourage the voices in the learning. If you said, oh my gosh, you need to add this article and share it with the class because they need to know how this works in my country or where I'm working right now, absolutely, we want that. I think that, I'll be honest, I teach college student athletes, and I have a student in my class right now from China, and there are athletes who compete for China at universities, but it's really different than how it looks in the US. Someone in my class from Canada has a little bit more understanding of the US athletic sort of fit into universities than other countries. So Canadian students tend to have like some similar positions available to them if they work at a university that has athletics. But I understand that. So I try to work with anyone who's not gonna need that information now or may never need the information to see how we can make the course relevant and apply to other student populations they may work with, for example, that have, say, lots of regulations like military connected students and those kind of things. So that's something that I think is really good that you pointed out. We can do better. And I think we're always trying to do that because we do have so many students who are outside of the US in our program.
We've got a question about the K-State, if K-State offers students free access to online research journal in the library. Yes, you have access to everything in our library. And let me tell you, as somebody who went from a Research 1 institution to a Research 2 institution for my postdoc, back to K-State, which is a Research 1 institution, it's a hell of a library. And you really appreciate that when you've been at a different institutional type where you're not able to access nearly as many materials. So it's a wonderful library. And also other things too beyond the library too. The Writing Center. Yeah, sorry, Dr. Rubin.
No, I was talking to Dr. McGill yesterday about how I requested 2 articles from interlibrary loan. I got one within 5 minutes and one 3 hours later. It's amazing. And I don't know about international students, but our library will mail books to you as a distance student. If you're requesting something that you need that K-State can get even through interlibrary loan, they will mail it to your house and you can borrow it that way. So it's an absolutely incredible library.
What are the benefits of a graduate certificate in academic advising? I would say, just having that coursework, having those 5 courses within academic advising, I think, that's knowing just enough to be dangerous and to do good work, having a connection to the field of literature and NACADA. So that would be my response to that.
Good response. Okay. Have there been master's and PhD graduates that go on to do advising in institutions in other countries? So PhD students, they're only in their 3rd year of coursework, right? Or is it second?
Yeah, we don't have any PhD grads yet.
Yeah, so they're not done. But master's graduates, I'm fairly certain we have a huge number.
Well, we've got students in other countries too, so.
Yeah, I've taught people in the UAE and China. I know we just had someone from Japan last week who's about to start. Tons of Canadians, which is great. We have people in Canada. But I know you said non-English speaking countries. I'm sure we do. Yeah, and I have a current student from China right now, and she's definitely involved in the Chinese Advising Association, which we've had. Dr. Nutt, who just retired, was one of our faculty and the executive director of NACADA, and he would go over to China and Japan and do a lot of professional development there. So I feel like that's how a lot of the word gets out, is through NACADA, and then people will come and maybe try the certificate or the master's that way. We're hoping, we really want international applicants for the doctoral program, and we'll find out because we don't see the applications till winter break, but we're very excited to have some new voices and different experiences to learn from as well.
Dr. Rubin, here's a question I don't know the answer to. Are all 5 courses in the graduate certificate program offered in spring, summer, and fall? I reckon not all 5 in all semester, right? but all 5 within a
That's
calendar
really
year.
good question. Let me go back. I have the slides still, so I'm gonna go look at that just to make sure I can tell you, because I do know when they're offered. I just gotta make sure. So let me see if I can share my screen again. You get the unfancy version there, but right now, all 5 of these are offered in fall and spring, and 4 of them are offered in the summer. So if that excites you at all, the one that's not offered in the summer is multicultural aspects of academic advising. However, asterisk, to confuse you a little bit further, diversity in higher ed is offered in the summer and you can substitute it. So basically, yes, year round, you can do the certificate. I wouldn't take 5 classes in the summer. You'd probably not like yourself very much. They may even cap, they won't allow that, I guess. Probably no more than 9 credits without permission, but our summer courses are 8 weeks. So they typically are June through July. And the diversity in higher ed is a 4-week summer course, which is a little unusual. So that the first, if you try to do that with others, you're like finishing a class while you're halfway through another class. It might make you crazy. I don't know. Some people are really good with that, but again, with the multitasking, I don't know if that's something that that would work. I know that some people are probably gonna go to bed or go to work or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stick this slide here. Hopefully you can see that, because I know I'm not using the slideshow mode, but we have we're all here to answer all the questions, but if you have specific questions about one of the programs, here's some extra information. So, okay, the first 2 are our email addresses. You can ask us anything, of course. So Dr. McGill is like the official faculty member over the certificate program. I'm officially with the master's, and Dr. Troxel, again, the director for the Nakata Center for Research, is the doctoral program coordinator. So she actually, when everyone's admitted, serves as their advisor initially until everyone meets all the faculty and feels it out. So Dr. Kraft at the bottom there is our department head. So she deals with all the applications before the rest of us see them. So if you have questions about applications or the department in general, this is something you can talk to her about as well. Everybody's very nice. we like to help you get your questions answered. So hopefully you can reach out to one or more of us and you'll get what you need. So I missed some more questions while we're doing that. So, great question about the Career Center. Yes, so just like all the other services, we have distance writing center appointments, we have distance Career Center appointments, library, you get all the same perks as a student here. Definitely, those are resources. And our Career Center also is willing to help alumni. And you don't have to they don't just drop you when you graduate. You can go reach out to them later and still get resume help or connected through Handshake to use their job search tools and all that kind of stuff. So,
yes,
all the courses all online, yes.
Yes, for the graduate certificate and the master's, fully online.
And Amy, yes, right now all of us are situated in Manhattan, Kansas. The Little Apple, if you like, our little nickname here. It's not the same as the Big Apple by any means, but it's a lot of fun. And we definitely encourage everybody, if they've never been here, to at least come for commencement. It is such a blast. We love to celebrate graduates twice a year. And if you are summer graduating, you can go to May or December. And like you saw in Christy's video, everybody kind of hangs out together in the commencement ceremonies, but our college, our dean is very generous and invites all of our graduates to brunch before commencement at the country club here and treats you, and then invites your family to join if they'd like. And then you get to meet faculty and other students before commencement, kind of in a more fun setting, and you get to eat. And so we do a really nice celebration together. And if not, you're always welcome to come visit. Let us know so you can make sure the faculty are around when you're there, because it's tough when I come by my office and I see a bunch of people signed on my dry erase board and I miss them because I was, stuck in a book or something in the library. But and feel free to keep adding some questions. Irene, I'm going to give you the answer that you just asked me. I have to look it up to be precise, unless Diane, and do you have the Distance tuition cost for 3 credits handy, or I can look that up too.
So the graduate tuition rate is $510.60 per credit hour, but I will do the math quickly. So for 3 credit hours, that will be $1,531.
And just to reiterate, our distance tuition is lower cost than an out-of-state tuition cost for a graduate student. So it's a kind of a flat rate for anyone who lives anywhere, including in Kansas. So the only way a Kansas student could get an in-state tuition is to take a course locally, because they're coded differently. So all of our sections in the distance have a Z in front of them. And then if they're local, they just have like A, B, C. So local students, because there may be someone local here, I don't know, 5 of the 10 classes can be taken in person if you are local. So you can take a class locally, meet some students here, meet the faculty in person, come to the campus. We do have local students who choose not to do that anyway. So it sort of just depends on life and circumstances. So, and yes, that is a US dollar amount. Great question, Daniel. Yes, we have scholarships that are offered every semester, and you can apply for them every semester. And Diane might be able to clarify more, but we've had people just, get them regularly throughout. Diane, I don't know about transferring for the certificate because it's only 15 credits. I'm not sure if there's a policy on that you're aware of.
So for the certificate, I believe we can accept up to 6 credit hours to be applied towards a certificate.
Okay, so it's the same as the master's. Thank you. Correct. And why is our tuition cheaper? That's it. I mean, I guess because we're competitive. I wish I could say otherwise, but as Dr. McGill said, we're in a research 1 institution. For people who don't know what that means, it just means a lot of our faculty are getting research grants and publishing at a high rate. And so it's recognized as a top institution in a US by the Carnegie classification system for higher education. And we again have NACADA in our backyard. So that really helps our reputation worldwide with the advising expertise that's here. And I know he's not bragging on himself, but Dr. McGill is like the first faculty member in the world hired specifically to be focused on academic advising. So I don't know how many other people can say that yet. And maybe whoever finishes our doctoral program can say that in a couple of years, but we're just thrilled to have his expertise. And he's an amazing teacher and researcher. I got it hurt. All right. Acceptance rate. So that's an interesting question. We have those guidelines that Dr. McGill shared. So if you have the 3.0 in your last 60 hours or in your master's degree, or sorry, in a bachelor's degree cumulatively, and you give us a good statement and submit all the documents, you're admitted. So that's really it. We don't have a lot of issue with people who are, because you're academically inclined, you're applying to help other students be academically supported. But I will say there are people who weren't great in school and time has passed and it's time to apply for master's and you're not at the 3.0. So that's when you reach out to Dr. Kraft and she'll work with you either to ask you to do some kind of standardized test, which I hate even saying out loud because we dropped standardized tests from all of our PhD masters and everything in our department. But sometimes that's just something that we can use to add on to show that it's like your 2.4 that 10 years ago wasn't really you, or you may just have to get some supporting documentation or a letter of recommendation or something. So it's really up to her to decide that. But otherwise, we take anyone who wants to be part of our community that meets the basic requirements. Yeah, thanks for the question. A lot of great questions. Anything else we can answer? We have 10 minutes.
We have a question about, yeah,
question.
it is. Well, most of us, at least if nothing else, advise our graduate students. So we've got that experience. I was a primary role advisor for almost a decade before getting my well, actually during getting my doctorate and then going into the professoriate. Dr. Rubin, you were a primary role advisor for a time.
5 years. Yeah, we all advise students currently.
We do have some counseling faculty who maybe weren't academic advisors, but have, you know, or worked in a very closely related area. Just trying to think through all our faculty.
Yeah, everybody is a faculty advisor, so that is definitely considered an advising role. I'd say it depends on who they are. Their approach might be different. So for the master's program, for example, like I meet with all of my students on Zoom every semester at least, or if they have other questions, I try to stay in touch with people because, you know, I don't teach everyone every semester, but there's other faculty who just wait for you to ask them a question. And that's because a lot of us have, I think, 70 or more master's advisees, and then we all have doctoral students. And so it's sometimes really challenging to stay connected with everybody, but I think everybody tries to do their best given the circumstances. And now that more than ever, we are all Zoom savvy. So we're all accessible though via email all the time. So that's something that is really important. And nobody apologized for questions. These are all good questions. So we don't have an application deadline, it rolls. So if you're still looking at spring 2022 for certificate or master's, feel free to think about it and apply when you feel ready. You can always ask Dr. Kraft if you're getting kind of close to winter break and you're like, is it too late? And she'll probably say no. So yeah, it's very cool. Once you're in, like you create your EID, you register, you're in classes, and boom, you're good to go. So we try to make it as easy as possible. So that means, yes, for summer, you're way early, you're good. Diane, the question about the fee waiver, does it apply to the doctoral application?
Unfortunately, we are only offering application fee waivers for the master's degree specifically, and also for the spring semester only.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Casey. I wish I had better news. But I also will say this, if you're like, whoa, on the doc program, or you're not sure, because I know some of you wrote me privately too about like student affairs versus advising. Our PhD in student affairs and higher education can be done fully online now as of this year. So if you're thinking about that one is not a cohort model. So you can take the classes, you know, one at a time instead of two at a time. If you're working full time, that might be another option. And you can always reach out to Dr. Kraft as well about the Student Affairs and Higher Education PhD program. Again, fully online, and that one doesn't require you to come to campus at all. So that means you don't have to fly to Kansas in the summer and enjoy our beautiful campus and stuff. You can come visit anytime, but you're not required to come or take the two classes with everybody else at the same time. So that is another option. I'll throw it out there because a lot of us teach in both programs. So you'll see some of the same faculty in some of the classes overlap. So all the professional, or the not professional core, but the core courses, there's 6 core courses, both advising and student affairs doc students take those together. So it's not like you're missing out on a lot of the content that's foundational to both PhD programs. It's really a matter of 4 classes that are different, that like your focus area, instead of being advising, might be something else like women's studies or political science or sociology or qualitative research certificate or something. So there's a lot of different things. I know a lot of you asked about advising certificate. We also have social justice ed. That's a popular one, and a qualitative research one that come out of our college as well. So the question about that, yeah, you definitely, same thing, need a master's to apply for the PhD program. And you'll get the 30 credits blanketed towards it too, same thing.
I have a response to Daniel's question. What are the most rewarding aspects of being an academic advisor and what are the most challenging? I loved to, like being a lifelong learner myself and being excited about learning. There's nothing better for me than to help a student connect with an area of study that they loved and to find what they wanted to kind of pursue with their life. So that was definitely the most rewarding. The most challenging, I think, was just, seeing students struggle and, doing the best that I could to advocate and support them. That's my response. Many of you probably have your own responses to that question too.
Just as we near time, I want to go back to share screen one more time if I can find it. I'm using too many computers. So this is just, if you are interested in applying, you go to online.k-state.edu, and then there's a how to apply link. And then Diane's going to actually email out this recording to everybody here and everyone who registered that wasn't able to be here. So you can revisit this and then also email us with any questions. We're happy to answer those. Again, here's us again. We have our emails. I'll be honest, I don't check that phone, so don't leave me. My voicemail says, I do not check this phone, email me. So email is great. Email is great. And Diane and Brittany can also help with questions with the Global Campus system and process and all that as well. We still have like 4 minutes, so I'm gonna make sure we use all of that to your benefit. Someone did ask me a question that I wanna make sure everyone heard. If you start in the master's program and decide to stop at the certificate, can you earn the certificate? Yes. So that's definitely something, again, you may just wanna start taking the 5 classes for the certificate. And then again, you can take a 2-year break and come back and without reapplying, continue with the master's. So that's something you could do if you're not sure like which way you want to go. You can apply the master's and then add the certificate while you're doing that, instead of the other way around. They're both fine. You can do the certificate and then apply for the master's. We have a ton, I don't know, I saw some people from Utah in here. We have a ton of people in the program from BYU. BYU has a very strong professional development for advising on campus, and I think they support all their advisors to get the certificate through us. And then most of them seem to complete the master's with us after that. So you'll always see BYU people in your classes, which is cool. Anyone have like that one last juicy question in our last 2 minutes?
What is the meaning of life?
Why is the sky blue?
Alrighty, well, awesome. Just a thank you note saying that this presentation is really helpful. But I do also want to thank you, Dr. Rubin and Dr. McGill, for that wonderful presentation. And I also wanted to thank everyone for joining us tonight. If you are ready to apply, like what Dr. Rubin said, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instructions. As a reminder, everyone who has registered for this webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. Finally, if you have any additional questions we didn't cover tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. We also want to be sure to let everyone know that we do have application fee waivers available for those applying for the master's degree program for the upcoming spring semester. So feel free to reach out to us at online@ksu.edu when you are ready to apply, and we would be happy to provide you with a code. Thanks again and have a great night.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really nice to see you.